Anxiety has been a problem for me for a very long time, and started when I was quite young, probably as a teenager. The symptoms of anxiety for me are a terrible feeling in my stomach of churning, and in extreme situations I'd find it very hard even to stand. I mean, I would stand, but they talk about knees knocking, but that, I know what that's like. And I also found that I just became more and more tense, and the more tense I became, the more anxious I became, so it was a vicious circle. And sometimes I would even either pretend to be ill or actually hurt myself by perhaps cutting a finger or something like that, so I could actually say, I can't come because I have I have this illness or this wound. So it was that behaviour I slowly recognised was not quite normal. I discovered almost by accident that by taking a small amount of alcohol calmed my nerves, and then of course it just got worse and worse. I did find that some of the techniques they taught me were good, and I did actually stop relying on alcohol. There were breathing techniques and being aware that it was quite normal to feel anxious in certain situations, and practicing difficult situations. I did a bit of role play with some of the counsellors, and some of them gave me specific targets. We would talk about, for example, if I was going to go to a party where I didn't know many people, I would visualise myself going to that party and not drinking anything at all. And so I began to fill up my toolbox with different ways of coping with the anxiety that I felt. And about the same time, my GP prescribed diazepam for me, and that was a great help, and that really did take the edge off the anxious feelings and meant I didn't have to rely on alcohol. I take 5 milligrams about once every 3 days on average now. I think that everybody has different ways of coping with difficult situations in their lives and mental health issues. And my own view is that people should be given the choice of how, under professional guidance, but they should be given some choice as to how they cope. Because sometimes if one method doesn't work, then another method or a combination of methods will work for that particular person. And I do feel strongly, I'm aware of diazepam dependency, but personally I have to say my consumption of diazepam, and I've been taking it now for on and off for about 30 years, is something that I feel I control very well.
I got the word breathe tattooed on the inside of my left wrist. I basically got it done because I've had a real problem with panic attacks a lot of my life, and the only way that I'm able to calm down and pull out of them is when someone reminds me to breathe and slow my breathing down and just focus on that. Anxiety to me feels like wanting to do something and having every part of your body explain to you why you shouldn't. I feel like I've been a very, very anxious person for a lot of my life, but specifically regarding my biggest anxieties, especially flying, I get very, very bad panic attacks. I get very, very nauseous. I feel like there's a lump in my throat. I feel like I can't breathe. I get palpitations. I get like sweaty palms, and it is just highly, highly unpleasant. And anything that I could do to try and help myself either prevent that or shorten it when it happened was something that I wanted to do. Having the tattoo is useful and it does help me. It's often difficult for me to calm myself down. It's almost like my anxiety gets in the, well, obviously my anxiety gets in the way of me calming down, but it's like my brain sort of switches off and tends to try and forget everything that I know about calming myself down when I feel very, very anxious. And I think the tablets are as much useful in a medical sense as they are in the placebo effect sense, in that as soon as you take one, you're like, okay, I'll eventually calm down, I'll be all right. And then I can sort of look at my tattoo and be like, okay, I'll breathe until I feel like I don't need to anymore. So I think they're both useful in different ways.